5 mistakes women over 60 make with the bob haircut. Have you ever left the salon, looked in the mirror and thought, well, it's neat, but why do I still feel tired looking? You didn't ask for anything extreme, just a little refresh, a trim, keep the bob. It's familiar, it's safe, but somehow the result looks flat, stiff, like the haircut is wearing you, not the other way around. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. So many women over 60 stick with the bob out of habit. It's the cut that's always been there, through job interviews, kids' graduations, and late-night kitchen talks. But here's the thing. While your life evolved, your haircut didn't. We tend to tell ourselves, it's just my hair texture changing. Maybe I need more product. I just don't suit short styles anymore. But what if the problem isn't your hair? What if it's just a few outdated habits hiding in your cut? Small things that quietly add years, flatten volume, and mute your sparkle. In this video, we're going to uncover 5 subtle mistakes many women make with the bob after 60, and more importantly, how to fix them. No, you don't need to ditch the bob. You just need to reintroduce it to the woman you are now, vibrant, nuanced, and no longer interested in playing it small. Let's take a closer look at what's really going on with that safe cut and how a few smart changes can make you feel seen again. Mistake 1. Wearing the same bob for 20 years without tweaks. Let's talk about loyalty, because few things stay with us as long as a haircut we've trusted for decades. The classic bob. Simple, polished, reliable. It was the cut that made you feel put together at 35, chic at 42, and still got it at 50. And so you kept it. Same part, same length, same silhouette. But here's the quiet truth. What once lifted your look might now be pulling it down. Hair changes after 60, not always dramatically, but subtly. It gets finer, softer, the bounce fades, the shape collapses faster, and yet the cut stays exactly the same. Why? Because we tell ourselves, if I don't change it, I won't mess it up. But not changing is the very thing that's messing it up. I spoke to a woman recently, 67, bright smile, sharp mind, who said, "This bob has been my signature since my kids were in preschool. I don't want to give it up." But when we looked at her old photos, we both realized something. The haircut wasn't doing for her now what it did back then. It had started to harden her features, sit heavily around her jaw, emphasize where her hair was thinning instead of balancing it out. And the worst part? She thought the problem was her, but it wasn't her. It was the unchanging cut. You don't have to abandon the bob, but you do have to let it grow with you. That might mean softening the angles, adding gentle movement through the sides, or simply shifting the part to lift the roots and refresh your profile. Because the woman you are today, she's not who she was 20 years ago, and her haircut shouldn't be either. Mistake 2, keeping the nape too heavy. Now let's turn around, literally, because what's happening at the back of your head could be the very thing weighing your whole look down. You see, many classic bob cuts are built with a dense, blunt nape. That back line, it's thick, straight, and heavy, meant to give structure. And back in the day, it worked beautifully. When your hair was denser, that weight added definition. It made your silhouette look crisp, intentional. Like a well-ironed blouse. But after 60, hair density changes, especially near the crown and nape, where thinning often begins quietly. What used to be a clean base now starts collapsing inward. That thick, blunt line, it no longer holds, it drags. Instead of lifting your neckline and opening your profile, it presses down, making the head look flat in back and the whole cut feel bottom-heavy. One woman told me, from the front it still looked okay, but when I saw a photo from behind, it was like my hair just stopped. No movement, no shape. That's not her fault. It's the cut not adapting to the canvas. So what's the fix? Taper the nape. Ask your stylist to soften the weight line at the base of your head. This doesn't mean going short, it means going lighter. A slight undercut, gentle stacking, or internal layering near the nape can work wonders. It takes the bulk out from underneath, allows the top layers to fall more naturally, and creates the illusion of volume, even when the hair is fine. Think of it like tailoring a jacket to fit your shape today, not the one you had 20 years ago. Because when the back breathes, the whole head lifts, and suddenly your bob doesn't just sit there, it moves with you. Mistake 3. Neglecting the front. Harsh or no fringe. We often think the back and sides do all the talking in a haircut. But let me ask you this. When you meet someone, where do their eyes go first? Right to your face. And yet, the one section that frames it, the front, is often the most overlooked. A lot of women over 60 avoid bangs completely. They worry it looks too young, too trendy, or just too much trouble. Others stick with the same blunt fringe they had in the 90s, thinking it's still doing them favors. But here's the twist. The front of your bob is doing more to age your look than the length ever will. Without softness around the face, your bob can make your features feel exposed. Thinning temples, a receding hairline, or even just natural volume loss at the front all become more noticeable when there's nothing to gently frame them. I met a woman at a community center workshop, early 60s, glasses, sharp cheekbones. She said, "I always avoided bangs. I thought they made me look like I was trying too hard." But when we added just a light, wispy side fringe to her cut, she looked up in the mirror and whispered, "I look kinder." Not younger, kinder. There was warmth, softness, approachability. Because here's the secret. A well-placed fringe doesn't make you look like you're chasing youth. It makes you look alive, present, engaged. And yes, it can subtly cover thinning areas without screaming, "I'm hiding something." So what can you do? If you've always avoided bangs, try easing in. Start with a soft, feathered side fringe that blends into the rest of your bob. It adds movement without heaviness and gently breaks up a long or square face shape. And if you already have a fringe, check the shape. A too blunt line across the forehead can look severe and outdated. Ask your stylist to add texture, angle, or airiness, because the face you have now isn't something to hide. It's something to honor, with softness, light, and just a little lift at the front. Mistake 4. Avoiding layers out of fear. Let's be honest, the word layers can feel a little risky. Somewhere along the line, it got a reputation. Messy, hard to style, high maintenance. So what do many women over 60 do? They play it safe. Keep everything one length. No fuss, no surprises. But here's what often happens with that approach. Your bob starts to resemble a curtain. Flat, heavy at the ends, and stiff through the sides. It's neat, yes, but it doesn't move. It doesn't lift. And worse, it can make thinning hair look even thinner. I once had a woman, 62, retired teacher, tell me, "I thought avoiding layers made my hair easier to manage, but I kept wondering why it looked so flat no matter what I did." She tried volume sprays, round brushes, even sleeping in rollers. But the real issue wasn't the products. It was that her cut gave her no room to move, literally. Here's the gentle truth. Layers don't have to mean choppy or chaotic. When done right, especially on thin hair, they create lightness, bounce, and direction. Think of them like gentle steps in fabric. They let each section fall into place, instead of all clumping together at the bottom. So how do you layer a bob without losing control? Start subtle. Ask your stylist for face framing layers or internal shaping, techniques that lift without shortening. Avoid overlayering near the ends. That's where thin hair is most fragile. Instead, focus on soft elevation near the crown or around the cheeks to open up your profile. It's not about making your hair trendy. It's about giving it space to breathe and giving you a break from fighting with it every morning. Because you deserve a haircut that doesn't just sit there looking safe. You deserve one that moves with you, light, effortless, and quietly confident. Mistake 5. Letting the hair define you, not express you. Let's step back for a moment. Because underneath all the technical tweaks, the fringe, the nape, the layers, there's something deeper going on. Something we don't always talk about when we sit in that salon chair. Somewhere along the way, a lot of women start treating their haircut not as a way to express who they are, but as a way to hold on to who they were. The bob becomes a symbol of control, a safety net. A quiet compromise between looking done but not loud. And before we know it, we're not even choosing the style anymore. We're just maintaining it. I remember one woman, 70, poised and thoughtful, who said, "I kept the same bob for years because it felt like one of the few things I could still control. Everything else had changed, my body, my routine, even how people saw me. That this haircut stayed. And yet, even she admitted it didn't feel like her anymore." Here's the truth. You are allowed to evolve. Not just in life, but in how you show up in the mirror. Hair shouldn't be a boundary you hide behind. It should be a language you speak, with softness, strength, or a touch of rebellion, if that's who you are now. Maybe you've played it safe with your bob. Maybe it was never really about style, but about staying invisible. Not attracting attention, not inviting change. But the woman you are today, she deserves to be seen, to take up space, to wear a haircut that reflects her now, not a faded version of her past. So let go of the pressure to keep it the same. You're not here to preserve an image. You're here to embody a presence. And your hair? It's just the beginning. So here's what we've uncovered. The bob isn't the problem. It's how we hold on to it, unchanged, unquestioned, that quietly dims its power. Whether it's a heavy nape, a flat front, or a reluctance to try layers, most of these mistakes don't come from doing something wrong. They come from not realizing how much we've changed and how much our hair wants to come along for the ride. But here's the good news. You don't need a dramatic makeover. You just need permission, your own, to let the cut evolve with you. A few soft shifts, a lighter hand, a braver mirror. That's all it takes to turn your bob from something that works to something that lights you up again. Because at 60, 65, 70, and beyond, we're not shrinking. We're not apologizing. And we're definitely not clinging to styles that no longer reflect the woman inside. So take a look in the mirror. Not to judge, but to reintroduce yourself. And if something in this video made you pause and say, "Wait, that might be me," then I hope you know you're not alone and you're not stuck. This is Elder Insight, where we don't just talk hair. We talk power, presence, and showing up fully, one haircut at a time.